Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're looking at IELTS writing general task 1 and we're going to be looking at how to write a formal letter. Last week we looked at how to write an informal letter and my students basically produced a band 9 essay by the end of the class. So let's see if we can produce another band 9 letter at the end of this class. I'm going to be joined again by a few of my students. I'm going to be asking them questions. Obviously, you cannot see the chat, but I will be saying whatever they're asking me, and we will be looking at any questions that they have. So the very first thing we need to do when writing general training task 1 is decide if something is formal or informal. Anyone in the chat, can you tell me how do we do this? Excellent, yeah. So we're just looking for the word friend. It's super simple. If it says write to a friend, it's informal. All other letters are formal. Do we have to worry about semi-formal? No, so you'll hear some teachers go on about semi-formal. You do not have to worry about that for your IELTS. All you're looking for is either formal or informal, which makes our life easy. If it says friend, it's informal. Everything else doesn't matter. Write to a neighbor. You're writing in a formal way. Everything else apart from your friend is going to be formal. When we're writing formal letters, a couple of things to remember. No contractions. Absolutely none. No reason for this to be capitalized. No contractions. So what is a contraction? Who can give me an example of a contraction and what we're not going to do? Yeah, I'm. So basically when you've got a pronoun and you've got an auxiliary verb like the verb to be, so you're going to have that in continuous tenses, you're going to have that in perfect tenses. So in these times we're not contracting. Okay. We want to use formal language. Can we use idioms in formal letters? No, absolutely not. No idioms in your formal letters. Idioms are very informal. I would personally recommend just not using them at all in your writing, but certainly not in your formal letters. Formal greetings. What does it mean to have a formal greeting? How are you going to start your letters? Brilliant. So Nabila said, dear sir or madam. Or what's the other option? So certainly, dear sir or madam. Yeah, Lucy said, dear Mr. Stone. So we can use Mr., Ms, or Mrs. All of this fine, but we want to use like this form of addressing someone, and we want to use their first name or their surname. Yeah, surname. That's their family name. Really, really important. We're addressing them with their family name. So when do we say dear sir or madam, and when do we say dear Mr. Smith? Nabila says, yeah, sir or madam when we don't know the person. So maybe it says, you get a question, it says, write a letter to the manager of a newspaper or write a letter to the manager of a shop. You don't know the person, so you're going to write dear sir or madam. If it says to you, write a letter to your manager, or maybe it says write a letter to your neighbor, then we're going to use their name because you know the name of that person. So something I think a lot of people make a mistake with when they're doing general training task 1, they're like, I'm in an exam. They're thinking, how do I impress the examiner? and they write to the examiner, basically. We want to write to the person they tell us to write to. So if it says write to your manager, you're like, okay, well, I know my manager. If I have a manager, picture that you're actually writing to your manager at work. Yeah, don't think I'm in an IELTS exam. Think to yourself, I'm actually writing to my manager at work. That's going to get you into the right frame of mind, and you're going to be using much more appropriate language. And when you sign off, you need to sign off with your full name. So first name first, surname afterwards. So in English, we often say Christian name and surname. So for me, it would be Phil is my first name. That goes first. And then Burns is my surname. So that would come last. You need to include both. Or you can maybe say Mr. Burns and also use a title for yourself. Again, if you're a doctor, maybe you could use Dr. Dr. Smith. That would also be appropriate. But make sure you're using a full name and a formal sign-off. If I make mistakes in the greeting or the sign-off and the rest of my essay is absolutely perfect, what is the maximum I get for band 6? For task response? Yeah, band 6, thank you. So really, really important. We need to make sure that our tone is consistent. This is, I think, honestly, much easier in formal letters. Students find more difficulty with tone in informal letters, but it is something we want to check with. At the end of every one of our paragraphs, we are going to do a quick check to make sure that we haven't got any contractions, that our greeting is correct and our sign-off is correct, because we don't want to make these little mistakes. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very painful to our score. All general training task 1 letters, same structure. We're going to have a greeting, a purpose statement, which is basically a paraphrase of the key information in the question statement, 3 bullet point paragraphs, all of them between 45 and 55 words, a minimum of 45. If you go over and maybe you wrote something 60 or 65, don't panic. But you definitely do not want to go under 45 words because the paragraphs are going to be considered as underdeveloped. And again, that's going to mean that you can't get over a band 6. Sign-offs. We can use kind regards. We can use kind regards for formal and informal letters. Sure, you can use yours sincerely, yours faithfully, if you can remember which way around they go. It's just so much easier to use kind regards. Use this for all your letters, then you know you're not going to make a mistake. As I said, formal letters, David Smith, Annie Jones, or Mr. Smith, Dr. Smith. Informal letters, just your first name. So let's have a look at today's question. As you have recently taken a 2-day course, write a letter to give your feedback to the course organizer. In your letter, give the details of the course, say what you liked or disliked about it, suggest some improvements to the course. So first step.
Another question.
Yeah.
If we don't expand or explain one of the bullet points, or if we write under 45, but the other bullet points are over 55 or about 60, that affects our task response.
Yes.
Grammatic.
Yeah, completely. So if you, let's say if you wrote your first bullet point paragraph is 70 words, your second bullet point paragraph is 70 words, and your third bullet point paragraph is 30 words. You will not get over a band 6 for this essay because you have one underdeveloped paragraph. All of your paragraphs must be around.
So the number of the count of words doesn't matter if we don't separate the number of words fairly between the different paragraphs. Yeah.
Because basically how you are graded is you're graded on that you develop your ideas for each bullet point. So if you develop your first two really well, but you don't develop your third one, you still have undeveloped paragraphs. So don't look at it as a whole. Don't go, okay, well, I wrote 150 words. Again, examiners are not really looking for your word count, but they are looking for development. And it's going to be very, very difficult to develop an idea if you're under 45 words. Once again, let's say you wrote 43 words. That is not going to affect your score. The examiner is not going through, going word by word. Oh, they wrote 43 words. What they're looking for is development. The reason we give you these guidelines of 45 words is anything under that, it starts to look underdeveloped. So this is like a safety point. If you're up to 45 words, as long as what you've written is relevant, then it's developed. But under 45 words, you get into very dangerous territory. And like I said, that the second an examiner decides an idea is underdeveloped is a maximum of band 6. So we do not want to take that risk. So all of our paragraphs are going to be at least 45 words.
Right.
Okay, is that clear? Okay, great. So our first step, is it formal or informal, and why? So we look at who we're writing to. So write a letter to give your feedback to course organizer. Is this person a friend? No, so it's formal. Okay, so we're looking at who it's written to. We know it's formal. Okay. Formal greetings, the people we know by their name. Use dear Mr. Ford. People you're not likely to know by their name, dear sir or madam. You will quite often find in the question, the question prompt will say to you, start your letter, dear sir or madam, or dear ... So always follow the instructions. If you're given instructions to do something, follow those instructions. Throughout your IELTS, there are lots of instructions that if you don't follow them, it really affects your task response. So anytime you're given an instruction, so if the question just says, start your letter with dear sir or madam, you start it with dear sir or madam. Okay? You always do what you're told in the question and don't deviate from those instructions. So our purpose statement. We need to basically paraphrase the key information that's in the question statement. So we've got 2 sentences here. You have recently taken a 2-day course. Write a letter to give your feedback to the course organizer. What are the key words in here? We quickly analyze this question. Yeah, we want to give feedback. Good. I think we probably want to mention that it was a 2-day course. That to me looks like it's important. Anything else in here? When did you take the course? Recently. Okay, excellent. And make sure, like, sometimes you'll get a 1-sentence question statement. Sometimes you'll get a 2-sentence question statement. If you have 2 sentences, make sure that the information from both of them, the key information, is in your purpose statement. Okay, so looking at this purpose statement, I'm going to pass this on to my students. So the first thing is we're going to need to say why we're writing. And then we're going to say what we're writing about. So as I said, I'm going to leave this to my students. If anyone's watching this at home, please try this at home as well. The best way to get better is to practice. And then see how the feedback I give my students applies to you. And welcome, Trinath, to our lesson. So Trinath, we've just started looking at a purpose statement. So this is the question statement that we're going to be writing a purpose statement about. So up to everyone to have a go at this. Okay. Lucy, thank you. Okay, while everyone else is working, let's have a quick look at this one. So I am writing this letter to, so I think most of your letters are going to start like this. This is really nice. So I'm writing this letter to provide some feedback. Excellent, we've covered the feedback. Provide some feedback on a 2-day session I attended at your organization recently. Okay, so we've covered the recently. We've mentioned that it's 2-day. 2-day session works fine. Our tone is accurate. We can go through quickly. Again, anytime you write one of your paragraphs, so purpose statement, detailed paragraphs, just check you haven't accidentally contracted, because we're doing a formal letter today. So here there's no contraction. Excellent. And Lucy, really good. This is just what you want to be doing for your purpose statements. Well done. Okay, I've got one from Nabila. I'm writing this letter to provide feedback. Again, if you get this type of question, you remember this is the language you want to be using, very accurate, and you provide feedback on, so good prepositional collocations. A 2-day course, good, that I have recently taken. Good. Something I like maybe a little bit more with this one than this one, and can anyone tell me what it is? Both of them are correct. And I'm thinking about grammar. What is slightly better about the grammar in the second one than the grammar in the first one? Present perfect, yeah. You have an opportunity to use it. But again, something we graded on for our grammar is showing a range of vocabulary, a range of grammar. So being able to put the present perfect in there is good. We see this word recently. Anytime you see recently is a perfect opportunity to use the present perfect, because recent actions take the present perfect. So there is nothing wrong with this. I happen to know that Lucy is living in North America and Canada. I know North Americans tend to avoid the present perfect and they use the past simple a bit more. This is accurate. There is nothing wrong with this, but if you have an opportunity to use a range of tenses, it's always good to do so. Okay, so we've got one from Revit and we've got one from Trinath. So I am writing this letter to provide my feedback. Yep. So here, provide feedback or provide my feedback. Both of these work. Again, if this type of letter comes up, this is a structure that you can remember, and we've got this feedback on, so this is good. A 2-day software programming course I enrolled recently. So nice. This is something I think is a really nice touch that you've done here, Revin. So you're like, okay, they've mentioned you did a course. So to try and vary it a bit, we're going to mention what type of course it is. So good, 2-way software programming course I enrolled recently. Can anyone tell me the problem with this? Oh, right idea, Evan. So it needs a preposition, but it's the wrong preposition. So Revan, so far it says at, on, and yeah, finally we get that in. So you enroll in a course, you don't enroll on and you don't enroll at. So remember this in future. If you're going to use this word, then it needs this collocation. Into doesn't work either. So it's just in, I enrolled in, it's in natural collocation. And then recently, okay, so good. And then we have one from Trina, if I can find it, where are we? I am writing this letter to provide feedback. Yep, about. This also works actually. You can have feedback about and you can have feedback on. So this is another option for prepositions here. So it's perfectly correct. I'm writing this letter to provide feedback about the 2-day course that I took last week. Okay, rather than using the word recently, we're using a specific time period. Again, really nice. Same as what Rowan was doing here. A way of kind of paraphrasing this information is actually being just a bit more specific. So rather than a 2-day course, it's a 2-day programming course. Rather than recently, you say last week. Quick grammar question. In this, this final purpose statement here, can I use the present perfect with this expression? If not, why not? So everyone says no, which is correct. Why can I not use the present perfect? The Buddha says, okay, yeah, well, last week. So remember, never use present perfect if you've got an exact point in time. So if you're mentioning like yesterday, last week, last year, we can't use present perfect. We have to use past simple with specific time expressions. Okay, so everyone's written really good purpose statements, so well done. Off to a very good start. So bullet point 1, give details of the course. So what could we talk about when we're talking about the course?
Sir, I apologize. Yep. Before getting to the next bullet point, should we add a stop, what's called, before, for example, Mr. Pell or Mr. Smith, should we add after Mr. add what's called stop sign or
a comma? So sorry, let's go back to our greeting. Oh, I didn't cover it. Sorry, my own fault. So yeah, when we're doing the greeting, let's just make some room, and I will cover this. We got greeting. I think this is what Revan is talking about there. Mr. Smith. Wait, there should be capital letter. Or dear sir or madam. Actually, this one is going to be dear sir or madam because we don't know who the organizer is. I assume. So Revan is asking, should we use a comma here? Is that what you mean?
No, comma and also the what's called, I can remember the stop
like
sign.
The stop. Yeah, the
yeah,
full
after
stop.
Mr. Smith,
okay,
after
okay.
Mr. Yeah.
Yeah, so here. Yeah, this is grammatically correct. You should put the stop sign.
And we should make a distance after, put a distance after and Smith.
Have a space here, yeah. So space. Yeah, so yeah, good point. Sorry, it's one of those things that you know, as a native speaker, I'm just thinking, oh, everyone would know that, and obviously there's a lot of people who probably don't actually write normally in like Roman script. So yeah, Mr. or Mrs. Here we have a full stop afterwards. The same if you were referring to a doctor. So these symbols always have a full stop after them. And then we want a space between the full stop and Smith and the name. Same if you were going to maybe just put an initial for their first name. So dear Dr. M. Smith. Again, after these full stops or commas, you want a space. And then I would recommend always using a comma on your greeting and always using a comma on your sign-off. Trina says, is it correct if we do not put the full stop? I would say it would probably depend on your examiner. Some examiners probably, they see, they'll see this and they'll just go, fine. Some examiners might be stricter. So my advice is put the full stop. This is grammatically correct. The full stop should be there. The reason I say some examiners will probably overlook it is the fact that many people will naturally, native speakers will naturally not put the full stop because they're lazy. And therefore it's quite a natural form of writing. But yeah, definitely grammatically, you should put that full stop. So we want to be as safe as possible, put the full stop. Okay, does that cover that? Great. So let's move on and have a look at bullet point 1. And thank you for bringing that up, Reverend, because it's these small little details that sometimes I think myself and other teachers might overlook because we're just like, oh, yeah, it's common the way we write that. So great. Details of the course. What kind of details could we give? Yeah, name, definitely. And yeah, when it was. Content, excellent. The main points here, I'm going to say that's the kind of content, what the course is about. You know, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, teachers. Teaching methods, possibly, yeah. Great, Lucy was saying number of attendees, yeah. Oh, number of students. So I think we've probably got enough ideas here. I think these are the kind of things you want to do in your planning stage. So this should be done before actually getting to the writing part. You want to quickly go through all your bullet points, be like, okay, details of the course, and you know, just writing one word. We don't need sentences when we're taking notes. We can be like when, content, teachers, methods, number of students. So don't worry about grammar at the moment. You're just quickly getting ideas down, so you know what to talk about. And then, you know, you don't have to use every idea you come up with. So maybe you kind of brainstorm this in your planning stage. And then you go, oh, you know what? Teaching methods, this might be a little bit difficult to explain. I've already got 4 things I can talk about. I don't really need to mention it. So again, write about the things that are easy to write about. Keep it as simple as possible. Okay, great. So those are some ideas that we've brainstormed. Let's get on to the writing. So anyone watching this at home, once again, try and write yourself a paragraph of this. Remember, your paragraph should be around 45 to 55 words. as I always say, practice with us. Yeah, that's the way you're going to be able to use these videos in the most effective way possible. You know, while you're watching the video, have some paper or type it on your laptop. Try and use the ideas that are here. Keep it simple. Use words and language that you are sure of. Again, if we want to get up to the band 8s, make sure we're using some complex language. So we're going to need to be using complex sentences or relative clauses. But only use grammar where it is appropriate. So don't force grammar. Okay, brilliant. So Nabila has got our photo. Let's have a look at this one together. So certainly, again, as an examiner, I'm not looking at this and actually counting words. I'm looking at this and going, does it look developed? To me, this looks like a developed paragraph. That is because I have marked a lot of IELTS papers, and I'm well aware of what a good paragraph looks like because I've looked at many as a trained eye. It's a bit like, you know, if you're cooking, you know, if you've been cooking for years, you can probably just get ingredients and throw them in your pot because you know you've done it over and over again. At the beginning, you might want to count it, okay? But the more you practice, the more you're just going to get a feel that it looks like the right size. So the course was English for everyday use. Very nice use of capitalization here, by the way. So we're giving the name of the course, so we should capitalize. When we give names, as Nabila has very accurately done, we do not capitalize prepositions or articles unless it's the very first word. The English for everyday use, excellent. And it was held last week on Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. To 5 p.m. I just want to check something about the question. Yep, and always remember that we've got to be following this. So it says you've recently taken a 2-day course. So we've got to make sure, don't forget and start saying, oh, I took this course and it was for a week. We've got to make sure that we are addressing a specific question. It says 2 days. And Nabila has very accurately mentioned that we've got 2 days, Friday and Saturday. So words like that, highlight them on your paper so that you make sure that you're consistent throughout. But it was held last week on Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m., 5 p.m. Excellent. Just to mention about spacing. When we give these AMs and PMs, no need for a space between the number and the AM and the PM. Here we've got complex vocabulary. We're using compound sentences, so good job. I really enjoyed the teacher who taught on Friday from 10 a.m. Again, don't want spacing here, 12 p.m. Because he was dynamic and he made us participate in some games. Okay, nice. Again, both of these are compound sentences. Nabila is saying, do I need to put this? Optional. So you could put it in, I think, the most natural way. I don't know really anyone who would put the puntos, the points in there for you. So it's fine to write like this, but just don't put a space between the number and the AM or PM. Okay. Apart from that, really good. Some nice higher level vocabulary, like dynamic. That's quite nice. So good job. Well developed. Lucy's got one for us here. Let me make some space. The course is about How to support seniors who suffer from physical disabilities, including both at a physical and a psychological level. There were 10 people participated at those sessions, and those courses were facilitated by an instructor named Bill White. So content is really good. There's a few grammar things I'm going to pick up on. Can anyone tell me what was the grammar issue in this first clause? Yeah, was about, because remember you took the course in the past, so not the course is about, the course was about. How to support seniors who suffer from physical disabilities, including both at a physical and psychological level. We've got a participle clause, which is really nice. Again, high-level grammar, excellent. There were 10 people participated. We need something in here because we are describing the people. We need a who exactly. Yeah. There were 10 people who participated at those sessions. Here we're in the past, so good. But try and be consistent. Make sure, again, check any sentences after you've written them. So there were 10 people who participated in those sessions, and those courses were facilitated by an instructor named Bill White. So really nice. Yeah, so physical disabilities, quite high level vocabulary. On a psychological level, high level vocabulary. They were facilitated by high level vocabulary. So really good job. Well done, Lucy. And again, an excellent topic sentence. Just be careful of your verb tenses. Okay, one here for Robin. International famous computer professors were invited at Tehran. Normally we say invited, it's not at, but you're invited. How is a preposition? To, exactly, yeah. So remember these two words. People ask, how do I learn prepositions? You learn prepositions like you would learn vocabulary. Have a vocabulary notebook if you're making mistakes. Write prepositional collocations in them, like invited to, and then try and use it. Again, like the best way to learn any vocabulary or any grammar is to use it. Just, okay, you see something, oh, I'm going to learn that. No, you need to use it. Try and use it in day-to-day life. When you're practicing, try and write some sentences that involve invited, and then that's going to take it from your passive vocabulary into your active vocabulary. So passive vocabulary is basically when you have vocabulary and you understand it. But active vocabulary is when you can use that vocabulary accurately. So international famous computer professors were invited to Tehran University. Excellent. Just a note on capitalization. This is correct. Both Tehran and university are part of the name of university, so it's capitalized, so good job. And they give their speeches for 3 days. Happened in the past, so not give. Gave their speeches. 3 days. More than 200 people. Mostly software engineers had joined. So this mostly software engineers is non-essential information. So what is the punctuation rules for non-essential information? Commas, yeah. Why are we using the past perfect here? So usually with the past perfect, you would use it when you have an event in the past, and then you're talking about something before that main event. Whereas here, we're just actually talking about the event. So here we can just use joined. So more than 200 people, most of the engineers joined. and I asked for their numbers and emails, that will be really effective for us if we want to contact them. So this is basically a relative clause. Is this relative clause defining the numbers and emails, or is it just adding extra information? It's adding information. So when we add information, so this is a non-defining relative clause, we cannot use the relative pronoun that. We need to use which. So more than 200 people, mostly software engineers, joined, and I asked for their numbers and emails, which will be really effective for us. Here, I think really helpful would be one handle, which will be really helpful for us if we want to contact them. Okay. Up until here, oh, yeah, thank you, Nabila. And they gave her speeches for 3 days. The question says 2 days. Be careful. Well spotted. Should there be a full stop before which? Here? Oh, we should have a comma, not a full stop. Yeah, that was not defining one up. So more than 200 people, mostly software engineers, joined. So the important thing here, though, don't worry about the grammar, looking at task response. Up until here, everything is relevant. Give details of the course. So we've talked about the teachers. We talked about what the teachers did. We talked about how many of the people were there. We talked about the people who are on the course. Asking about their numbers and emails, has that got anything to do with the details of the course? No. So this would be basically, for me, this has nothing to do with the question. So even though it's correctly written, the only thing that I can look at for development is this, because everything else is irrelevant to the point. Now, have we got 45 words of development? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. No. So unfortunately, even though we've got the word count, this idea would be considered as underdeveloped, because the second half of what we had here, unfortunately, is not addressing the specific point. So we've got to make sure that everything we're writing, every single sentence, relates to this. Otherwise, you're just filling the space. You know, examiners, I say this over and over again, they don't care about the word count. They care about development. The word count gives you an indication about development, because if you've written sufficiently, if you've written enough words and everything is relevant, then you have a sufficient development. But if something you're writing is not on topic, then you're going to end up being underdeveloped. Okay, and now we've got one from Trina. Copy this. Sorry, this always takes me a bit of time, but I've got lots of windows open on my screen. I have to move them all around so I can see what's going on. We should get another screen. That would make life better, wouldn't it? Okay, so it was a cookery course which took place at Hilton Hotel. We're talking about the specific hotel here, so we want the article. The Hilton Hotel is all a name. Hilton Hotel. Okay, so here I would capitalize both. There was a cookery course which took place at the Hilton Hotel on Saturday and Sunday. 2 days, okay. We're addressing specific question, good. Moreover, The teachers were patient with everyone, and I really liked their teaching methods because it was so easy and simple to understand. And I also learned a few new recipes in a short span of time. So here we have got independent clause. Here we've got an independent clause, so we put a comma before our coordinated conjunction. Aha, Peter was saying they. So yeah, I was looking at this. It depends what you think it is referring to. And here I would give you a pass with it or they. They would refer to, obviously, the teaching methods. But why would it be okay to? What is it referring to here? It is referring to the course, yeah. And I think you understand a course more than you understand a method. So you're not really, it's not so much the teaching methods were easy to understand, it was the course was easy to understand. That is why I think this it here is absolutely fine. Here we've got some big compound sentences, so some nice upper level grammar. Overall, everything is related to details of the course. It's a cookery course, where it was, when it was, who the teachers were, teaching methods, what you learned on the course. Everything is relating. Every single sentence relates to the bullet point. So good job. Okay, so we haven't got a lot of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign different bullet points to different people, if that's okay. And that just means we can get through the class a little bit easier. So where are we? Bullet point 2. So we're going to say ladies first. So Nabila and Lucy, if you can address this bullet point, say what you liked or disliked about it. And then gentlemen, bullet point 3, suggest some improvements to the course. Okay, so Reben and Trina, have a look at bullet point 3. Lucy and Nabila, have a look at bullet point 2, if you don't mind. And then obviously at home, you can take a bit more time and you can work on each single one of these. Once my students have written their bullet point paragraphs, I'm going to go through and make sure that every single sentence is relevant, everything is developed, and obviously we'll have a look at the vocabulary and grammar as we go along. Oh, bullet point 2 is this one, Reben, but you don't have to worry about bullet point 2, you're doing bullet point 3. Okay, so this is the one that you want to be looking at. Suggest some improvements to the course. And the ladies are looking at bullet point 2, what they liked or disliked. So I think I wrote about bullet point 2 and bullet point 1. I talked about it. So then what I would do, Nabila, is just try and make sure. Nice. So if you talked about teaching, try and think about what else could you like about the course. Price, length. How can you repeat talking about the teacher? Maybe using some language, as I already mentioned. I thought the teacher was great. That you could maybe use that kind of language to refer back to something you've already talked about. Or you could focus more on the dislikes. So remember, you don't have to just pick one or the other. And this is something I think a lot of students kind of shy away from in all parts of the IELTS course, is unless they are directly told, complain. Students don't like to talk in the negative. Remember, English is an English test. To demonstrate your ability of English, You want to be able to show that you can talk in the positive and also in the negative. These are traits of English that you need to, parts of English that you need to be able to show. So again, this is like showing varied vocabulary. It's showing negatives are a part of grammar. It's showing that you can use a range of grammatical structures. These are all things that you get marked on. So never worry in an exam. You're like, oh, I'm going to come up and start being negative about something. Not a problem. You are demonstrating that you know how to use verb tenses in the negative. This is a really important skill, something you need to be able to do. So never worry about using negative language in your IELTS exam. And if I recall, Nabila, let's have a look at Nabila's this one. So if we look back at Nabila's, you were saying, oh, I've already mentioned that I like the teacher who taught on Friday. Well, for me, that says, oh, you've opened it up to talk about the teacher on Saturday and maybe talk about that teacher and say that, as I already mentioned, the teacher on Friday was great. However, the teacher on Saturday was terrible. So that's something we could maybe talk about. Okay, so we've got one from Nabila, great job. I didn't like the organization of the course because it said that the lunch was included in the fee, but during lunchtime we had to pay for it. Moreover, the food was not enough for all the participants, so some had to go out to buy food and they lost the first lecture in the afternoon. Okay, good. So first thing we do after we've written, what is the process I should be going through? I write my paragraph and I check for contractions. And I go, I don't want to make this contraction error because even if I write a perfect letter and I make this one mistake, I can't get over about 6. It's super important. After every paragraph, we go through and we check for contractions. So I did not like the organization, of course, because it said that the lunch was included in the fee. That's great. During lunchtime, you had to pay for it. That's fine. Moreover, the food was not enough for all the participants. Good. Some had to go out to buy food and they lost the first lecture in the afternoon. This is very much, I'm thinking, that Nabila is translating for Spanish. In English, we wouldn't say lost. Can anyone tell me what the word is? Missed. Good job. Apart from that, well developed, everything is addressing the specific. Jonathan could not attend. Yeah, that also works. I think in this particular context, missed is the most obvious word, but could not attend is also fine. So let's have a look at Lucy's. What I appreciated the most was that the instructor was very knowledgeable and professional because he explained all the material in detail. This expression in detail is not in detailed, it's in detail. So this is a fixed expression. Apart from that, anyone who came to my punctuation lesson, can you tell me about this comma? No comma yet, we don't put commas after that. Apart from that, he was very supportive, good. He encouraged all the participants to participate at the session at, so here we participate and we need a preposition. Okay. Apart from that, he was very supportive. He encouraged all the participants to participate in the session at the best of their abilities. This preposition is a little bit awkward. Normally their best of abilities, not with. It's to, yeah. So if you see this expression, again, fixed expressions, this is what will be going in your vocabulary notebook to remember the prepositions to the best of their abilities. So this is good. The only thing I would say, true enough, you beat me to it. That was exactly what I was about to say. So if I look at this, it's pretty accurate, but it seems, we've basically, all right, this is complex sentence. But here we've got single sentence, simple sentence, simple sentence. If we're possible, we would like to avoid simple sentences and be using compound and complex sentences. We already have a complex sentence here. So let's make this a compound sentence. We're going to put the comma. And he encouraged, so what's the other way we could join this? Instead of the comma and the coordinated conjunction, I can replace this. I'm thinking about a punctuation alternative. Excellent, yeah. And we can do this. This also looks quite complex. It's showing a higher level understanding of punctuation. So both of these would be natural ways of joining these sentences, and I think a little bit better than using the full stop. The full stop is not wrong, but again, if you want to really push yourselves, if you're looking for the higher band levels, we want to be using our grammar to the highest level possible. And these are like simple ways of fixing it. So a semicolon or a comma and a coordinated conjunction would be nice here. Everything in here is relevant. So good job. And I'm going to move on to our male students who are looking at bullet point 3. So suggest some improvements to the course. Again, anyone at home, make sure you're writing along, thinking about the feedback I'm giving my students. How would this apply to your writing? Are you writing your simple sentences? Are you able to upgrade your simple sentences to compound sentences? Yeah, we're just waiting for my students here. When they're ready, I will post their answers, and obviously we'll have a look at them and critique them. But so far we're doing really well. Our first couple of bullet points, I think everyone's done really well. The purpose statements were excellent. 3.5, excellent, thank you very much. Okay. So I would really appreciate if, so this expression, something's missing, it's going to come up occasionally. Turn out, yeah, the expression is, I would really appreciate it if you could add a new course on Indian cuisine, because no organization is offering this course in the area. And I think it would definitely attract many people to join, since your organization has good reputation in teaching. Reputation is actually, the expression is countable. So we need has a good reputation in teaching. A reputation in is strange. You have a reputation, what will be the preposition? For teaching. Okay, and once again, like I said, when we're learning prepositions, this is what we're going to do. If you've made these mistakes, if you weren't sure about them, we're going to write this down. Put it in a vocabulary notebook, reputation, for, and then come back to that. Anytime you're recording vocabulary, record it, try and use it, and then come back to it. In a week's time, you can check prepositional collocations. Maybe you can have some flashcards for yourself, like some study cards. And on one side, you could say reputation. On the other side, you've got reputation for, so you know what it is. And you can just look at it. Okay, reputation. What's a preposition? You turn over your flashcard, reputation for. These are really nice ways of testing yourself at home and making sure that you understand how to use the correct prepositions. So it looks like a well-developed idea. We've got suggestions for improving the course. So everything good, well done. Then Robin, our last student today. So I would like to suggest you how this course could have been held better. Excellent. So this is something comes up a lot, asking to suggest. People make these mistakes all the time. This is not the way to use a verb suggest. Can anyone of my other students tell me what is the structure I want you? So suggest, we're going to use the word suggest. I want the word suggest. I need to, I wonder, I don't know how much this is being translated from your own language. So we don't actually use the you here. So you can say, I would like to suggest how, would be the better way. Or Lucy said, I would like to suggest that you, but I can't use the you how. So I'll write some options here. I would like to suggest how this course could have been held better. Good. This one works. I would like to suggest that you, but then you're going to need to do something. So I would like to suggest that you improve this course by blah, 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 blah. But I think the simplest way was the original by just removing who. So I would like to suggest how. So no you in this. Yeah. So Revan says we suggest something, not someone. Yeah. So and let me just down here so you have an idea. So this grammatical structure would work. I would like to suggest that, and then we have a clause. You, do, and you is the subject. So we're always trying to work out what is the subject here. Is how is like your subject, but here you is the subject. So this works or this works. So remember that. And again, put it in a notebook. This is something that comes up a lot. You often get for the third bullet point, suggest improvements. So in this case, we can use recommend. So I would like to recommend, also works, that you do a few things differently. Here, again, recommend would work in the same way. Okay, so either structure A or structure B. We're going to stick with suggest now. Okay, so I would like to suggest how this course has been held better. Here, slightly more natural would be could have been made better than held better. Jonah says, can we use it would be better if you could? Yeah, that also works. So let's have a look at this. Software engineering cannot be covered in 2 days and it needs more time. Here, this is a very common mistake people make. Cannot. What is wrong with this? This is actually all one word in English. I didn't learn this till very late in my life. But yeah, we write cannot as one word. So software engineering cannot be covered in 2 days and it needs more time. Okay. We're addressing the specific question. We're addressing specific question. Good. The number of domestic professors were insignificant. So what is our subject here? The key subject, number. So it. The number of domestics, yeah, not were, but was. So we're not looking for the subject-verb agreement with the professors. We're looking for the subject-verb agreement with the number. The number of domestic professors was insignificant. Number, no, it's not plural. Reverend, you could. The numbers is plural. The number is singular. Insignificant, nope. Yeah, so as Lucy said, insufficient would be the word we're looking for here. The number of domestic professors is insufficient. We want a comma before our coordinated conjunction, and I would like to recommend you invite more of them. Okay. Nabila says, I'd like to recommend you to invite. So I think the two here is optional. Let's have a look. I'd like to recommend you to invite more of them. I would like to recommend you invite. Yep, the two I would say here is fine. I would like you to recommend. No, soon as that expression, I would like you to recommend, it doesn't work because you are giving the recommendation, you as the writer. So you don't want the course to recommend, you want you as the person who's writing the letter doing the recommendation. So this works. Everything here is relevant, everything is suggesting improvements. We're going to do our quick check to make sure there's no issues with contractions, no issues here. No issues here. No issues here. No issues here. Contractions are fine. Get into the habit of doing contraction checks. Okay, that needs to be part of your writing process for general training task 1, for formal and informal. Okay, so we basically had 3 good bullet points from our students. Great job. We're signing off. How do we sign off? Brilliant. Kind regards, we don't need anything else. A few people said yours faithfully. Yes, I could use yours faithfully. When do I use faithfully and when do I use sincerely? Okay, so you know the name sincerely. You don't know the name, it's faithfully. Okay, fine. Personally, I always forget this and I always have to check it. So if I use kind regards, I know I'm always right. So for me, I would just use kind regards. It's just easier. Yeah. If you write yours faithfully, do you get any more marks than writing your kind regards? Does it change your score in any way possible? No. So if it doesn't change your score in any way possible, we're going to use the easiest way possible. And kind regards is the easiest form we can do. And then as revenue. All right, revenue. Good. Or you can either have both of your names here. So you put your full name. You can have Mr. Kedrin, or if you want Mr. Kadri, I'm probably destroying your name, I'm sorry. So these are all options. Okay, you can put the Mr., you can put an initial here, or you can just have your full name. All of them are formal sign-offs. Okay. Thank you very much to everyone who comes along. Anyone in the group, just wait a minute and I'll answer any questions you guys have. Anyone watching at home, if you found this useful, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And good luck to you all in your studies.